Facebook. Ooh, I've got 8 steps. It's 8. Copy and paste. Share to your group. League of Badass Butterflies. Go live. Zoom. Is it working? Almost working. Let's see, hold on. Let me lower the volume here. All right. Let's see. Okay, and there we go. We're going to hold that. Yes. All right, everyone. Hi. Okay, so if you are joining me live, in the comments, please type in #live. And if you're watching the replay, please type in #replay. Let me know that you're here. And let's do a little check-in and discover where you all are watching, where you're coming in live from. So I was, I've been, I'm living in Paris, and I have a lot of people who are curious about my work, especially they're very, very curious about spiritual life coaching. And one of the things I kind of love is when I tell them that I'm a spiritual life coach, here it's not really heard of like it is in the United States. People know exactly what you do when you say you're a spiritual life coach. Here, they get it, but it makes them very excited. Like the prospect is something that they've not considered before. And so they get very, very excited with the opportunity to kind of like think about themselves spiritually, and to even think about like taking a spiritual approach to their issues. Like that's really exciting for them, especially because it's not in a religious context, right? So if it were associated with a particular religion, like Catholicism is really big here, or any other kind of form of Christianity, it would have a different kind of meaning for them. So French people are very excited, and this is just like with everybody else, they just haven't heard about it here, but they're very excited at the thought of being able to express themselves spiritually and energetically, and to kind of take this new approach to their lives, but out of the context of religion. So it's very, very exciting. So again, if you're joining me live, then give me then let me know, #live, and let me know where you're broadcasting from. Excuse me. I see that Teresa is here live. Hey, Teresa. And Gianna is here. It's wonderful to see you. Welcome. Teresa's coming in from, hold on, I just missed it. Okay, keeps jumping around. Mississippi, but was it Big Creek, Mississippi? Yes. Excellent. Wonderful. Yeah, so, okay. So the other thing that people, because I started telling you about people asking me about spiritual life coaching, but the other thing that people ask about is where my clients are. And I think it's really cute because my French is pretty bad. When I speak French, I sound like I have marbles in my mouth, and I sound, they say that I sound like a Basque cow. Like that's how French people insult you. They say, but Madame, you are very beautiful, but you speak French like a Basque cow, which I think is really a great a great insult, okay? And they also, so they hear me speaking French very badly, and then they say, so you are teaching people, your spiritual life coaching in France? And I feel kind of badly because I have to say no, because my French is not really good enough for me to be trying to coach somebody in French. And they are so disappointed. And look, you guys, I think I'm telling you this story for a couple of reasons. I'm telling you this story because I want you to understand that your work as a spiritual life coach is in demand. And some of you all might be a little bit nervous about becoming a life coach, and you think, oh, there's so much competition. Well, please understand that, first of all, competition is not really an issue for you. But the other thing is, people all over the world want this knowledge, and they need this knowledge to help them improve their lives. So just keep in mind that the work that you're creating is not going to be limited by just your neighborhood. It's not going to be held just in your neighborhood. It's going to actually expand the world. I've got clients all over the world, and it is very exciting, but it also just goes to show the power of the message that we are delivering. My message is about being a badass butterfly and that journey to get there. So starting off as a caterpillar and then transforming into a butterfly, it is a journey, and I am excited to be embracing that. Okay, so thanks for joining, everyone. And so let's talk about what we're doing today. I should first introduce myself. My name is Crystal Lynn Bell, and I am a master spiritual life coach. And hold on a second. I'm a master spiritual life coach. And, I have been calling myself a worthiness advocate for women for a long time. And I'm changing that because what I realize that's more important for me is not the focus on that pulling you out of unworthiness, but it's that transformational process. So I've started calling myself a high priestess of transformation. And this is because that is the work that I do. When I'm working with my clients one-on-one, I'm really working with them in their caterpillar mindset, okay? We are doing subconscious reprogramming. We're working with limiting beliefs. We're changing habits. We are changing thought patterns. We are creating a whole new self-concept, and we are giving birth to a brand new being. And I love that. And that is what Badass Butterfly Spiritual Life Coaching is all about. So I'm Crystal Lynn Bell, and I'm the founder of Badass Butterfly Spiritual Life Coaching. In addition to being a coach for caterpillars who are ready to transform to butterflies, I'm also a business mentor. So I help women like you who want to become spiritual life coaches. I help you get certified and set up your business. So if you are interested in learning more about how I can help you get certified and get your business up and running, please book yourself in for a strategy call. Rebecca is going to put the link to the strategy call in the comments so that you can book yourself in, okay? All right. So enough about me. Let's talk about our topic for today, which is vulnerability. Vulnerability. So a lot of people don't like the word vulnerability. They don't like the idea of being vulnerable. It freaks them out. It weirds them out. I totally understand. But I want to give you some new perspective about vulnerability, because your clients are coming to you in a profound state of vulnerability. They may not know it. They are maybe hiding, maybe they've put up protective barriers to keep themselves protected from outside wounding. But here's the thing to understand. The mind can form protective barriers. They can have emotional protective barriers. They can have physical protective barriers. And for you as their coach and leader, it is imperative that you recognize what is going on. When they are protecting themselves from feeling vulnerable and being vulnerable, your client is creating for themselves a separation from source energy and from the riches that await them in the world. So, in order for you to be able to really help your clients navigate through this vulnerability realm, you have got to understand and embrace vulnerability within yourself. Now, I'm going to just start off by saying you're a badass. You have made the decision to become a spiritual life coach. That's badass. Number one, if you're going to be a life coach, you are doing that by yourself on your own. Nobody's doing it for you, okay? I can mentor you and help you, build and create, but ultimately, it's you and God that are creating this healing, nurturing, supportive, transformational experience for your clients, okay? Now, taking that on can make you feel very, very vulnerable. And I want to acknowledge that, but that is why I say you are badass, because taking that on is a very adult, very faithful thing to do, all right? You don't have a guarantee of your success. You don't have anybody who's going to do it for you. Your ideas are going to be the guide, and nobody's going to wake you up in the morning and be like, oh, you have to get up and do this. You're going to do that. You and spirit are going to do that. Okay. So again, in my opinion, that is a very badass thing to do. So because that is such a big, bold, badass endeavor, it is so perfectly normal for you to feel vulnerable or intimidated or nervous inside. Now, here's the thing to understand. On a conscious level, you may not be aware of any subconscious vulnerabilities that you experience. But here's how you know if you feel subconsciously vulnerable. Please remember that what is subconscious is not known by you. All right. It is subconscious. It is unconscious. You're not aware. You don't know. So in order to know what's going on in your subconscious, and if there are any vulnerabilities there, you have to look at what you are manifesting. Now, for those of you who have this desire to become a spiritual life coach, and if you're someone like me, okay, when it comes to starting a business, I have zero fear, consciously and subconsciously, zero. So for me to start a business, I can do it like that. I can make it happen. I get all the resources in place. Everything falls in place. I can literally be up and running with my business within a week. That's how it happened for me. Very easy process. Everything falling into place. Why? Because when it comes to business, I have zero subconscious saboteurs. I have zero resistance, fears, doubts about my ability to be a successful business owner. So from where you are right now, you can ask yourself, what are some of the challenges, obstacles, hardships that you are currently facing? Or if you're asking yourself, you would say, what are some of the obstacles, challenges, and hardships that I am currently facing on my path to becoming a spiritual life coach and healer with my own thriving business, right? And I'd love for you all in the comments to write down any obstacles and challenges that you're facing, right? Now, as I just said, I don't have any obstacles, challenges, or resistances to starting a business, running my business, being in business. I've been in business for, technically, I started my first business when I was 8 years old. That's how confident I am in my ability to succeed in business, okay? So in the comments, let me hear some of the challenges that you all are facing on your path to becoming a spiritual life coach. And these challenges can be any number of things, okay? Hold on just a second. I just lost there we go, found it. Excellent. Jana says self-doubt, direction, and guidance, and financial. Thank you. Those were the things that came up to the top of my head because that is what I see with most people. Now, the feelings about self-doubt and direction and guidance are, first of all of the subconscious feelings that you are experiencing are valid, okay? There is a reason why you are experiencing those things. And here's the simple solution that is not meant to be disrespectful, but I want to kind of keep it really simple like this because, it's kind of the truth. The only reason we all, no matter what it is, the only reason we have these subconscious doubts is because we are here to deal with these subconscious issues as an opportunity to kind of expand God, to expand source. And if you're someone like Gianna, or you're like Teresa, you're here, you want to be a coach, you want to be a healer, you have a soul's calling to not only experience that doubt, that confusion, or whatever it is that you're experiencing, but you have a feeling like you want to help other people who have gone through the same things. If you can relate to what I'm saying, give me an amen or a hallelujah or raise some hands in the comments. But in other words, you have a strong desire to share your message of transformation, and you want to help other people heal and transform, right? If you can relate to that, give me a hands up, because that suffering that you're experiencing, let me start that over. You are first and foremost a child of God. You are a divine being of God. You are of the Creator. Okay, so you are already blessed and perfect. You came to earth in the circumstances that you came to earth in so that you could experience and overcome these challenges and bring yourself back to God. Bring yourself back to God, right? Bring yourself back to that perfection. And sometimes it takes years and decades to get there, but it doesn't matter. It might take you a couple of lifetimes. The important thing is that you awaken to the internal, intrinsic purpose of recognizing God within, and then bringing yourself back to that without the barriers, without the doubts, the subconscious issues. Okay. So why am I taking you all on this journey? Well, here's what I want you to understand. First of all, you are not here to be a perfect coach. You are here to be the coach that you are and the best that you can be. So very often we have an idea like we need to be perfect in order to be a coach. And actually, that is absolutely 100% false. You only have to be willing to create, take what you know, create, and then give it to your people. Create, take what you know, create something interesting with it, and give it to your people. Okay? If you are willing to do that, then you are going to be a great coach. Okay? So that does imply that you need to be taking care of yourself and taking care of your education along the way, right? So let's say that you have dealt with self-doubt in the past, right? What you have to do is do a little bit of studying about self-doubt, all right? You need to look at yourself. You need to read some books about self-doubt. And then what you do is you create yourself a little program and you say, hey guys, if you're experiencing self-doubt, I put together a workshop. I want to invite you to come to this workshop and I'm going to talk to you about what I've learned about self-doubt. Here are my 5 steps to overcoming self-doubt, right? This is super powerful, and this is something that you can do right now, all right? But here's the ticket, here's a key. You cannot be that flexible and fluid and trusting of yourself and the universe if you are walled off and hiding behind limiting beliefs, disempowered emotions, bad habits, okay, negative thought patterns, a low mindset. In other words, if you don't trust yourself and know that you can do this, then you're not going to be able to access the beauty of source and you co-creating together. Okay, this is really important because today's session is about understanding the importance of vulnerability. Now, if you are walled off because you're afraid of being vulnerable, source can't get in and what you know can't get out. All right, I know this is true because when you're scared, you don't receive downloads. When you're scared, when you're anxious, when you're under anxiety, you don't receive downloads. And when you don't trust yourself and when you think that the world is not going to accept and embrace what you have to offer, you're not going to put anything out there. You're not going to put yourself out there. So embracing vulnerability as a life coach is an imperative. You have to open yourself up to source energy and trust that what source is delivering you is worthy and worthwhile and going to bring something beautiful to the world and to your community, okay? And you have to trust that you are a woman who can take source's inspiration and give it to the world in a way that is effective. All right. This is the realm of vulnerability. Does that make sense to you all? All right. Let me check in and see what y'all are saying here. Okay. Yes. Thank you, Teresa. Amen. Extremely strong. Yes. Gianna Lee with the tears. Nice. I can so do that. I actually do that. Surely books are important. books are super important, okay? But, and yes, we can give book recommendations. Rebecca, we have a lovely book list. Let me, we'll see about getting you a copy of the book list, Gianna, okay? Rebecca can email that book list to you. My problem, I always second guess, makes perfect sense. Yeah. So here's, here's the point that I want you all to take away right off the bat. Opening yourself up. And actually, I'm going to go to my notes right now because I've been kind of just flying off the cuff. I'm going to get in my notes right now because there are a couple of important things that I wrote down in my notes today. So vulnerability is a superpower. That's kind of the name of our topic for today. Hold on. Are these my notes? Yes, live stream script. Okay. So here's what I want you all to kind of understand. Vulnerability is defined, okay? It's defined as being exposed and open to attack or harm. Okay, so vulnerability means that you are exposed and open to attack or harm. So this is why we don't like vulnerability, all right? Because there is the assumption that, hey, I'm open, therefore something can attack me and harm me. So of course, nobody wants to be vulnerable because that's what it means, that like there's this association with attack and harm. But here's the other thing. God can't get in. Love can't get in. Desire can't get in. The manifestation can't get in if you don't let yourself be open and trusting and allowing. All right. So vulnerability, let me get to my notes. So the universe, okay, this is where my notes get important. The universe operates on frequencies and vibrations, period, okay? Period. If you're operating at this frequency, what's at this frequency cannot touch you, period, okay? You can't be at the top of Mount Everest and somebody, at the bottom, can't reach you, right? So my point is this silly example I just gave. It wasn't even an example. It was barely an example, okay? But my point is, when you are carrying yourself at a higher frequency, and I know you are, I know you're meditating and doing your yoga and trying to eat the right food and you're trying to be positively focused, okay? I know you're doing the things. You just have to know that those things are actually working and acting as a natural protector for you. Okay, I hope this is making sense. If it's making sense, y'all give me some feedback in the comments, all right? The idea is that you can be open and you can be exposed, and what is of your frequency will come in, and what is not of your frequency cannot, because it's repellent. It just is, right? So when we say things like, for example, and I hear this a lot with empaths who are very tender-hearted, attractive people, they say things like, well, I tend to attract narcissists when I'm open. Well, what's happening is they're just kind of misinterpreting what's happening. You can attract a narcissist and say no. The problem is you can attract, that many of them will attract a narcissist and not say no because they're too tenderhearted and too kindhearted to put up a boundary, right? So, for example, look, I'm going to use a dating example because this is there. It started a bunch of really good conversations with friends and on social media. There have been some good conversations around it. But a lot of women are afraid to kind of open themselves up to dating because they're afraid of the kind of men that they are going to attract. My point is that you attract the men who are a vibrational match to you, and they are mirroring you or something that you judge or something that you need to work through. So just because you need to work through something doesn't mean that you have to let it consume you. Just because you're empathic doesn't mean that you have to let the world walk all over you. And just because you're vulnerable and open doesn't mean that you have to allow yourself to be raped or pillaged or violated or brutalized. You can at any moment stand up and say, no, stop. This is a boundary, right? And it's through you actively standing up for yourself that you start to raise your vibration. Saying no does not close off your vibration. It simply extends the being that you are, right? So if I said to you, if I said to a guy online, no, you're horrible. You said that to me, right? I went out on a date. I'm going to just be honest with you guys. I went out on a date with a guy and he thought that he should kiss me. He's known me for 20 minutes. He takes me in his arms and he kisses me, right? I was not offended, okay? Here's why I'm not offended by the guy kissing me. I'm not offended because I understand. I understand passion. I understand men. And I don't feel like being kissed is a violation. I'm a child of the 70s. Things are different now. But for me and my values, a man kissing me that we're on a date, he gets confused. I can pardon that. That's me. You have your issue, your opinions on that. I have mine. I'm perfectly fine with that. You do it again, that's a different story. You do it again, we're now going to fight. I'm going to scratch you. I'm going to kick you. I'm going to bite you. I have already said no. You're now overstepping the boundaries. But that first kiss, I'm like, no. So what I said to him was, I said, I know who I am. I said, no, we don't have that. We're done. I'm okay. You can go. I'm going to go this direction. You go that direction. That's a no for me, right? It wasn't that I was judging him. I didn't think he was stupid. I didn't have to pour out all this anger at him. I just said, that's a no. I know who I am. I'm going to go over here. You go over there. Okay. It was that simple. It becomes, so I am leaving that situation with my grace intact. The problem comes when the empath, the guy kisses you, you don't feel like you have the right because you're concerned about his feelings. You're feeling embarrassed because he kissed you. You're feeling violated. You're feeling some kind of way. That is not a protective situation because you were feeling vulnerable in a way that wasn't healthy. It wasn't the vulnerability of I am open. It's the vulnerability of I've just been attacked, right? So what we want is to embrace our vibration and to walk always maintaining our high vibration of always knowing who we are. When we always know who we are, we become impenetrable. That is the Jesus Christ Christ consciousness. Jesus was impenetrable because he simply understood that he is at one with God. There was no separation between him and God. So it didn't matter what the world threw at him. It didn't matter whether it was the devil throwing him, temptation, or whether it was him being confronted with a leper, or him, being around prostitutes, or him having to bear the cross and to be crucified. He was always at one with God. And so the things that came at him never touched the truth of who he is. And am I saying that you should be like Jesus? Yes, I am. To the degree that you can. Yes, I am saying to the degree that you can. Practice. All right? Vulnerability is a step in that direction. Now, I got 8 things I need to tell you. All right, let me check in. You all give me some feedback. I just asked you to embrace the Christ consciousness. I just said that you have the power to literally protect yourself through the Christ consciousness. If I were talking to secular people, I know I would get a hell of a lot of pushback. They would start telling me things like there's war and there are murderers and robbers, and you want me to like rely on the Christ consciousness? Okay, I understand all that secular 3-dimensional stuff. I do get that. But I'm saying that to your best control over the 3-dimensional experience is by embracing the Christ consciousness, the higher dimensions within yourself, even if that is doing it just when you get up in the morning and doing it at night. If that's the best you can do, good. That's a really, really, really good start, actually. If you get up and you say, come on, Jesus, let's do this, or let's do this Christ consciousness, or let's do this God, let's do this universe. And then at the end of the day, you say, we did it. That would be really, really good. Okay, so you all get my point. Let me check in here and see what you all are saying. However, it made sense. Thank you, Teresa. Exactly. Vision's getting stronger. Yes, same here. Okay, I know who I am. Hashtag, yes, that's right. Keep your grace intact. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, you don't have to be malicious to extend your boundaries. This is exactly my point, my exact point. You extend by living in your heart. And ladies, I know that it's very, very difficult to do this because the world, 3-dimensional world is what we're supposed to be experiencing as real. I call that real or reality with a little r. But we have to practice. We have to practice remembering that reality with a big R begins with God, right? It begins in the heart. And if we think about the Matrix, I want you always to keep the Matrix, that movie, in the back of your mind. When Neo and Morpheus and Trinity and all the gang were on that raggedy ship, that's reality with an R, okay? It is not glamorous. It is not pretty. There is no girl in the red dress. There's no steak up on that thing. It's nothing but peace and truth, okay, with a capital T. That's what the nature is. You come down in this matrix, in this world, this 3-dimensional world of form. It's an illusion, but you got to deal with the illusion. But again, you start with the higher dimensions. You remember that your reality begins with a capital R, and you internalize that stuff. So here's why. Let me give you my 8 reasons for vulnerability, because I'm over time. So let me whip it out, okay? 8 reasons to embrace vulnerability. Number 1 is the reason I just gave you. Vulnerability allows you to connect with the Christ consciousness and be in that space without barriers, okay? Number 1. Number 2, well, this is number 1, really. That was an extra. Okay, here's my first one, authentic connection. So vulnerability gives you a deep and authentic connection with your client. All right. So your client is expressing their vulnerabilities, and you keeping that open, non-judgmental heart is going to help through the heart space. It's going to help them heal their own issues with disconnection and their own emotional pain. So keeping yourself on that high vibration, your heart becomes like a washing machine for the pain that they're experiencing. You don't have to get into it with your mind. You don't need to get into it with your mind. Why would you get into it with your mind? You're a spiritual life coach. You're not a career coach. You're not a secular coach. You're a spiritual life coach. Let your heart do the cleansing for you. That's its job, okay? Number 2, trust and rapport. So sharing your own vulnerabilities can help you build trust and help you understand your client's struggles, okay? And when you're sharing your own experiences with your clients, so even just by saying, Susan, I know what that feels like. Yes, I understand that. And you might want to share a real story from your own life. You can do that as long as it's appropriate and you don't make it about you. You will learn how to do that. I share my own stories all the time, but I do a very, very short, abbreviated form of sharing a story so that the person can see that I can understand that. They can make the connection. When they can make that connection, it lets them relax. I'm the coach. Most of my clients see me as being 3 or 4 steps ahead of them, which is good, right? It means that they look up to us, okay? So when they're looking up to us, it means that they want to get to where we are, right? So when I share a little story and I say that, yeah, I was vulnerable, I made this same mistake, or I suffered in this way as well, it gives them that message like, yes, if she can overcome it, so can I. So that trust and rapport gets really, really built up when you are vulnerable and you share your pieces of vulnerability. Okay. And of course, everything I'm saying should be taken with a grain of salt. I'm not saying you need to be just open and raw with your clients. You got to learn how to balance that out, and which comes, you'll learn how to do that. Number 3 is mutual understanding. This is kind of what I was just saying, but this helps, like when you are allowing yourself to be vulnerable. Now, this is really just about you. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, it actually puts you in a great headspace and heart space to be able to understand what your clients are going through, right? It helps to build empathy. So it's a very, very important thing when you can allow yourself to be in that vulnerable space. You can allow your inner child to come through and to help create that mutual understanding. All right. The next one is reduced stigma. All right. Now, your clients are going to be coming to you. They're going to come to you and they're going to be like, yeah, I want to make more money at work. And you're going to be like, okay, let's get to the core of that. As a spiritual life coach, that's what you do. Let's get to the root cause of, your relationship with spirit and why you're not making enough money and how we can move you into a better space, right? Well, a lot of times you're going to find that at the core of these hardships is something that the client is ashamed of, okay? And I'm just going to be raw. I'm going to be raw with y'all right now. But at the core of hardship can be some very, very difficult circumstances. Your clients have gone through things like neglect. They have have been homeless in their lives. They can have been molested. They can have been just belittled. They have been cast out. They could have gone through any number of dark challenges in their lives. Okay. And along with those dark challenges is a stigma, saying to any woman who has been molested will let you know right off the bat that there's like a stigma. You just don't go around talking about that with everybody, right? You allowing vulnerability allows you to actually work with that stigma to disintegrate it, to help it melt away. Again, this goes back to being empathetic, but it does mean that your vulnerability is kind of the key to helping that person feel safe again, right? And letting them live authentically, right? So again, your vulnerability softens the reception of that stigma, and it allows them to be authentic without shame, fear, or doubt. Okay, I hope that makes sense. The next one is modeling growth. So coaches who embrace vulnerability act as role models for their clients. I talked about that a little bit ago when I was saying that you need to be, you're usually 3 or 4 steps ahead of your clients, at least, sometimes much more. But your clients are looking at you and they are going to be modeling themselves after you. So when you're sharing your struggles, okay, of course you're sharing your wins on social media, but when you also share your struggles, which is an act of vulnerability, you are certainly empowering them to experience, you're certainly modeling the right thing to do or an expansive thing to do, and they are taking that on very seriously. Very much like a child models their parent. And I'm not saying that your clients are children, but and I'm not saying that you're their parent, but it's a natural thing. When you are going to someone for their coaching, you know that they've already gone through the stuff. You know that they are successful with it. And you're the student, and it's very easy to kind of fall into that place of, okay, that's my role model. I'm going to emulate, I'm going to imitate, I'm going to learn what I can and move in that path. Very, very powerful work. Okay, next, personal transformation. The act of being vulnerable can lead to personal transformation for you as the coach, okay? So as you confront your own vulnerabilities, and this can be your vulnerabilities, your challenges, your obstacles, you are going to experience your own growth. This is also super important, okay? Because you know that you can wall yourself off from yourself. This is the whole problem. Most of the people that are coming to you for coaching have walled themselves off and they cannot reach themselves. That's why they're coming to you. So you are in the same situation. When you open yourself up to vulnerability, you're opening yourself up to you and God and your spiritual guidance team so that you can receive the growth that you need. So personal transformation is definitely part of this. I've got 3 more, y'all. So enhanced problem solving is another very powerful reason for you to open yourself up to vulnerability. When you are open and receptive, spirit can come through. You need a solution to a problem? Don't go look it up on Google. First, sit in silence, breathe in, open yourself up, and allow spirit to work through you. If you feel inspired to go to Google because God has sent you something, you need to go look it up, go ahead, all right? But start always with source energy. Emotional resilience. So this, by encouraging vulnerability, you are helping your clients and yourself develop resilience, okay? By confronting any feelings, because when you're vulnerable, you see yourself, you feel yourself, you see things, right? By confronting those things head on, you're creating a very, very powerful force of resilience and expansion and courage. You're creating a badass internal environment. And that's what we want. That's what your clients are coming for. They want to be badass, right? And vulnerability is a way to do that. It's the door that opens, okay? It's the door that opens to like confronting big problems and issues, okay? And the last thing that I have down here is to, actually, wait, that was number 8, wasn't it? Yeah, that was number 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That was number 8. Emotional resilience was number 8. Okay. All right. So look, y'all, the last thing I want to just say about this is that your vulnerability is helpful. Okay, your struggles, your pain, your the things you've gone through are really, really important to help people learn about themselves. And you have the right, okay, this is the important thing. You have the right to not share yourself, okay? But I would encourage you to share, like to take your complex stories and to write them in a simple, usable, helpful way. That's one of the exercises that I have for my students is learning how to write about your pain. It's one of the first exercises we do. We take our stories of pain and we rewrite them in a way that feels more shareable, right? We get the vulnerable, like the stuff that's private, right? That not everybody needs to know all your business. We get that out of the way. And then then you're left with a nice condensed example or case study that you can share that helps your audience understand your teaching. I'm going back to Jesus Christ here, but Jesus taught in parables because parables help people understand. They're just little stories, right? Well, your stories are super important because you know everything about them, and they are what made you who you are today, right? They are what made you the badass that you are today. So making sure that you take some time as a part of your coaching journey to acknowledge your stories, write about them, and to kind of share them in a way that feels really good for you and for your audience, that'll go really, really far. Now, I just want to remind you all that if you want to, if you're ready to get started as a life coach and you want to go, you're ready to start building your business, go ahead and book yourself in for a complimentary strategy call so that we can get you started, okay? All right, I'm going to just check in here and see if there are any other notes. Thank you for posting that, Rebecca. Very good. So thank you all for joining me here. I look forward to seeing you on Friday. We have another great session on Friday. And yeah, have a wonderful, wonderful day, y'all. Bye, everybody.